Well, there's some good news for high-risk pregnant and breastfeeding women. The South African Health Products Regulator says the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine could be administered to them. I'm joined now by SAHPRA's Tohlang Sehloho. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it. So how did you come to this decision for pregnant and breastfeeding women to actually get this jab?
Yes, thank you, Ramkasan. The decision was made after we looked at all the data that was available, because traditionally clinical trials do not involve pregnant women and breastfeeding women, especially those for which we do not know much about the experimental drug, vaccine, or medicine, whichever way you want to call it. So when the data came in, it became apparent that there are no safety issues based on observational studies that were gleaned from pregnancy registries on vaccines that had been done before, and the analysis of that data has shown that there are no adverse events that occur in such a participant and on the unborn baby.
Yeah. What's raising a red flag is SAHPRA's statement, which says it's not yet clear whether the Johnson & Johnson COVID-19 vaccine is excreted in breast milk. Women who are breastfeeding should be counseled on the absence of information in this regard, and benefit risk assessment should be made by the enrolling clinician. So you're not able to tell whether the vaccine will be excreted when people are breastfeeding and whether it's going to have any impact on babies.
Not at this stage. We do not know that, but that's a statement for data that is still being generated, and obviously the risk-benefit balance of the vaccine being excreted in the breast milk shows us that we cannot expect any poor outcomes based on the data that we have and based on the nature of these vaccines that are being developed for COVID. Remember, these are not live vaccines. These are not attenuated vaccines. They contain no part of the vaccine, of the virus itself. They are just messenger RNA vaccines that are just designed to teach the body to create antigens that would elicit an immune response on contact with a coronavirus infection.
Yeah. So, of course, there's a more individualized and patient-centered approach when it comes to pregnant women and women who are breastfeeding. You, of course, will have to monitor this once they do take the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. When will you be able to look at the information going forward and then decide whether or not it was a good move?
Okay, the data has been monitored continuously, and obviously the pharmacovigilance aspect of regulatory science says that each and every case that comes through that reports an adverse event is a case too many, and it's something that needs to be looked at. So we're not going to wait for the data to accumulate. We'll be monitoring it as and when it comes in the event that there are any adverse events that are coming through.
Yeah, but as it stands, and I know I'm asking this again, as it stands, you know, there's concerns about blood clotting with Johnson & Johnson. Yeah. That's also being monitored even further. You, as SAHPRA, are still satisfied that breastfeeding women who even have comorbidities can be given the Johnson & Johnson vaccine?
Yes. The nature of these blood clotting disorders is that we are not quite sure of the causal factors around these blood clotting disorders. Therefore, the best way of handling the situation on a risk-benefit balance, on the basis of risk-benefit balance, is to closely monitor and capture all incidences where these blood clotting issues arise. And one way of having an early warning system would be to educate the participants in terms of what signs and symptoms to look for that we know could point towards a blood clotting disease, and to seek immediate medical attention should that arise. And that forms part of our data gathering framework as we roll out, as we expose pregnant and breastfeeding women to these viruses. It has to be noted as well, that the risk of COVID in pregnancy, the risk of COVID complications in pregnancy far exceeds what we are seeing in the normal population. So this is a demographic that needs special attention, that needs to be also catered for in terms of preventative measures. And obviously, because of the altered physiology that would normally accompany a pregnant state, closer monitoring is called for. And as I said, early warning systems, you feel any signs and symptoms which we specify, you seek immediate medical attention, and that case will be reported and put onto our database as we further study any poor outcomes from this study. Yes.